Everyone talks about boomers. Everyone dissects millennials. Gen Z gets analyzed like a brand new experiment. But there's a whole generation in between that almost never gets mentioned. Generation X, born roughly between 1965 and 1980. They're the co-workers who never complain, the parents who seem distant but steady, the people who helped build the internet and then chose not to live on it. And here's what most people miss. Gen X may be the most psychologically misunderstood generation still alive. Picture this. It's the late 1970s. You're 8 years old. You get home from school and the house is empty. Both parents are working. No phone in your pocket. No cameras. No way for anyone to check in. You unlock the door yourself. Make a snack. Do your homework alone. And wait. By the early 1980s, millions of children were regularly unsupervised after school. This wasn't rare. It was normal. An entire generation learning one lesson early. You can't assume someone will be there. That empty house didn't just make them independent. It rewired how they understood consequences. When parents came home, the rules were clear. Discipline was immediate. No long emotional conversations. No second chances. Psychologists call this a high contingency environment where actions and outcomes are tightly linked with no delay. That's why Gen X thinks several moves ahead. They had to. They also watched adults promise stability and then failed to deliver it. Divorce rates surged. Lifelong jobs disappeared overnight. People who did everything right still lost everything. They were told, work hard, follow the rules, and you'll be fine. Then the rules kept changing. So when Gen X expects things to fall apart, it's not negativity. It's pattern recognition. They hope for the best, but they prepare for the worst, because that's what experience taught them. That mindset explains why you rarely see them oversharing online. They grew up when privacy was normal. Mistakes weren't permanent. Embarrassment faded with time, so putting your entire life on display doesn't feel fun to them. It feels unsafe. This isn't about not understanding technology. It's about understanding risk. That's also why Gen X perfected irony. Sarcasm as protection, humor as distance. Laugh first so it can't hurt as much. They grew up during the Cold War, practicing nuclear drills while adults calmly told them not to worry. When authority insists everything is fine while preparing for disaster, you learn to stay emotionally guarded. But here's where Gen X really stands out. Work. They don't talk about it. They don't brand it. They just do it. Their work ethic was forged through jobs that barely exist now, paper. Routes before sunrise, grocery bagging, fast food counters, where you calculated change in your head. These weren't resume builders. They were responsibility, early and real. They watched their parents get discarded by corporations, so they never believed in loyalty to companies. Their self-esteem is more stable, less tied to events outside their control. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not saying one is better than the other. But there are real psychological differences here. And here's the twist. Sports fans often score higher on empathy measures. They deeply care about other people's struggles, even strangers in jerseys. So why don't non-sports fans feel the same way? It's about where empathy is directed. Non-fans often channel it towards social causes, personal relationships, creative projects, or intellectual challenges. A 2021 study found that people with low sports interest scored higher in openness to experience and love of art and beauty. They're chasing the same emotional highs, connection, meaning transcendence, but in art, music, nature, or ideas. For some, not caring about sports is even a defense mechanism. Maybe gym class was a nightmare. Maybe they felt excluded by sports culture. Maybe they reject the aggressive competitiveness tied to fandom. Or maybe they just find it boring. Either way, it's valid. Here's what explains the gap between sports fans and non-fans. How they find meaning. Fans get narrative thrill from underdog stories, comebacks, rivalries. The unpredictability is compelling. Non-fans often find that randomness meaningless. Why invest emotionally in something I can't control, performed by people I don't know? Both perspectives are valid. One finds epic stories in championships, the other in novels, creative work, relationships, or scientific discovery. Psychologists call this parasocial investment versus direct engagement. Fans invest in one-sided relationships with teams. Non-fans prefer investing where their care truly matters. Here's another fascinating point. People who don't obsess over sports often feel more present in their lives. They're not spending hours living someone else's struggles. They're fully engaged in their own. There's something quietly radical about that. So here's the takeaway. If you don't care about sports, you're not missing some fundamental human experience. Your brain just processes reward, connection, and meaning differently. And that's more than okay. Next time someone asks, "Did you see the game?" and you honestly don't care, remember, you're not broken. You're not boring. You're just playing a different game, one that might actually have higher stakes. If this made you think, wait until you learn why quiet people process information differently than everyone else and why that could be your biggest advantage. Click one of these videos and find out.